Bell's car hit the wall at nearly 200 miles per hour. It caught fire, it crushed the safer barrier so badly, NASCAR needed welding equipment to fix it. Bell climbed out, fans relaxed, then Joe Gibbs spoke, and the real story began. On lap 148 of the FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway, Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott were running side by side, battling for second position behind William Byron. Both drivers were on fresh tires following a restart, and the racing was aggressive. Then everything unraveled in a matter of seconds. Elliott's number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet got loose underneath him on the inside line. The car hooked hard to the right, shot up the racetrack, and collected Bell's number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota. Bell had nowhere to go. His car was launched directly into the outside wall at nearly 200 miles per hour, and the back end of the number 20 erupted in flames on impact. What followed wasn't just a bad crash. It was one of the most violent impacts the NASCAR Cup Series has seen in recent memory. Bell's Toyota hit the outside wall with such force that the first layer of the safer barrier was physically dented and crushed. This wasn't a situation where NASCAR could simply throw a caution and keep racing. Officials immediately displayed the red flag, bringing the entire field to a halt. Welding crews were called onto the track. The repair process took approximately 25 minutes before competition could resume. To put that into perspective, the safer barrier is an engineered safety system specifically designed to absorb and redirect the energy of high-speed NASCAR impacts. When that system requires welding equipment and a lengthy stoppage to repair, it tells you everything about the severity of what just happened. The destruction didn't stop at Bell's car. Kyle Larson, running elsewhere on the track, had his car struck by debris from the accident. His crew chief Cliff Daniels assessed the damage over the radio. "We think it was the right side window from the 20 that hit us," Daniels said. Larson confirmed the hit. "I got him with something in the roof. Pretty sure it left a mark." The crash was so violent that shrapnel from Bell's disintegrating race car traveled across the track and damaged another competitor's vehicle. Drivers who witnessed the crash in real time were shaken. Bubba Wallace, running just behind the incident, got on his team radio immediately. "Holius, please tell me that guy's alright. That was the scariest hit I've ever seen." Eric Jones echoed that reaction. "Golly, I hope they get out. That's like the hardest wreck I've ever seen." Ryan Blaney came over the radio saying, "Oh my god, that looked massive, whoever that was. Let me know if they're both okay." These weren't casual comments. These were experienced NASCAR Cup Series drivers, men who race at 200 miles per hour every single week, expressing genuine shock at what they had just seen. On the broadcast, Dale Earnhardt Jr. addressed what drivers now had to do in the aftermath. They have to compartmentalize that fear or that danger and that knowledge of that. That's up front in their face, and now they've got to go out here and continue to put themselves in that situation and at that risk. It's incredible. Both Bell and Elliott climbed from their destroyed race cars under their own power. Elliott immediately walked across the track to Bell. The two had a brief exchange, shared a side hug, and were loaded into ambulances headed for the infield care center. Before reaching the care center, Elliott had already taken full responsibility for the crash on the Amazon Prime video broadcast. "It was totally my fault. I feel really bad for Bell. Just taking him out," Elliott said. "I was trying to run the bottom, make use of our fresh tires, and at least get to second. I just got in there and got free. I thought I was going to spin and was kind of committing to spinning out. As soon as I was committed to spinning, it just hooked up and unfortunately sent Christopher into the wall really hard," Elliott added. "It was a huge hit. Huge hit for him. Pretty big hit for me, too. I knew that when it happened. When you're watching the wall come that quick, it's gonna be large." Bell spent nearly an hour inside the infield care center. When he finally exited, he did not come out the front. He slipped out the other side of the facility without addressing a single media member. At the time, that detail didn't register for most fans. Drivers often want space after a serious crash. Bell had walked away. He had been released. Most people watching assumed the story was effectively over. Then Joe Gibbs stepped to the podium for his post-race press conference, and the tone of the entire conversation shifted. Gibbs confirmed that Bell was dealing with injuries to both his wrist and ankle following the crash. His exact words did not project confidence. "It is his wrist and his ankle, I think, so we're just gonna have to wait," Gibbs said. "When he gets home, we're gonna make sure that he gets everything that he needs to get there, whatever it might be, and then we'll just have to kind of wait." There was no clear diagnosis. There was no reassurance that the injuries were minor. There was no statement that Bell would definitely be fine for the following weekend. When team owners are genuinely confident that an injury is insignificant, they say so immediately and directly. Gibbs did neither. What he delivered instead was carefully worded uncertainty, and that uncertainty told its own story. Within hours, additional details began circulating. A photo surfaced on Reddit showing Bell boarding the JGR team plane with what appeared to be a cast on his left arm. Separately, a report emerged suggesting that Bell's own father had indicated his son could potentially be sidelined for as long as a month. Neither detail was officially confirmed at that stage, but both added weight to the growing concern surrounding Bell's condition heading into race week. On Tuesday, Joe Gibbs Racing released an official statement that answered the central question. X-rays taken in North Carolina confirmed that Christopher Bell had suffered a fractured left wrist. The injury occurred during the lap 148 crash at Michigan. The full statement from JGR read, Christopher Bell suffered a fractured left wrist after an accident on lap 148 of Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway. After being evaluated and released from the infield care center, Bell returned home to North Carolina, where X-rays confirmed the fracture. Bell has been cleared and will be behind the wheel of the number 20 Toyota Camry XSE this weekend at Pocono Raceway. Bell himself responded on social media, "Thank you to each and everyone who reached out to check on me. I truly feel the love. I'm grateful for my team of doctors, JGR, NASCAR, and all of the previous drivers who have helped pave the way for the safety standards in our sport. See you in Pocono." The confirmation that Bell is racing at Pocono despite a fractured wrist immediately raised a separate and serious question. What does that actually mean for his performance? Every single lap a NASCAR Cup Series driver completes demands constant physical input. Steering loads, split-second corrections, braking pressure, vibrations traveling through the chassis, absorbing the physical shock of contact and track surface. All of it runs through the driver's hands and arms. A fractured left wrist does not affect one small aspect of driving a race car. It affects every single input, on every single lap, for the entire race distance. Pocono Raceway is a triangle track with long straightaways and heavy braking zones that place unique physical demands on drivers. The corners at Pocono are unlike any other track on the NASCAR schedule, and the loads through the steering wheel are significant. The question of whether Bell can manage the physical demands of a full race distance at Pocono while racing on a fractured wrist is not a minor consideration. Other drivers throughout NASCAR history have competed through significant injuries, but the results have varied widely. Racing through pain at the Cup Series level against the deepest field in the sport is an entirely different challenge than simply getting cleared to drive. The championship implications of this situation are significant. Entering Michigan, Bell had been one of the strongest drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series throughout the 2026 season. He carried 5 top 5 finishes and 6 top 10 finishes into that weekend. His 398 laps led on the season ranked 3rd in the entire series, behind only Michigan winner Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, and actually exceeded points leader Tyler Reddick by 3 laps. The crash at Michigan dropped Bell 3 positions in the standings to 10th, now sitting 259 points behind Reddick. More critically, Bell currently holds an 81-point advantage over Joey Logano in 17th place, which sits right at the playoff cut line. That margin matters enormously under NASCAR's revised Chase playoff format for 2026. Under the previous system, a driver with a race win could lock himself into the postseason regardless of his points position. That safety net no longer exists. This season, the top 16 drivers in the points standings at the end of the regular season will advance to the 10-race chase, based entirely on points, with no win-and-in guarantee. Missing races or consistently underperforming due to injury does not just cost a driver points in the short term. Under this format, it can cost him his entire postseason. Bell currently sits inside the playoff picture, but an 81-point cushion over the cut line is not comfortable when there are still multiple races remaining in the regular season. Every position lost, every race where Bell cannot drive at full capacity because of a fractured wrist, directly threatens his championship, standing in a way that the old format simply would not have allowed. Bell escaped Michigan with his life, and that fact should not be minimized. The safer barrier, the Hans device, the modern NASCAR safety infrastructure, all of it performed exactly as designed on Sunday. The outcome of that crash could have been catastrophic, and it was not. Modern safety technology deserves full credit for that, but walking away from a crash and walking away unharmed are two different things, and the X-ray results confirm that distinction. A fractured left wrist, a race at Pocono in days, a thinning points cushion above the playoff cut line, and a championship format that punishes any drop in performance, this story is not finished. It is moving to its next chapter, and that chapter begins Sunday at Pocono Raceway.